Streaming. Perfect. I'm still gonna have to get good at. I still have to figure out which plugin does the. Makes us the what's it? The chat pops up on here.
Oh, we got the chat over there.
That'll work. Welcome.
I'm gonna get cozy to you.
Yeah, you are. Welcome everybody to the Genus Brewing live stream. It's a live stream that we're picking back up, and we have new formats. Let me see if something works real quick. Check this out. Check this out.
That just
A preview of what we can do.
well,
Pretty
we'll
cool.
see. We'll see. Oh, hey.
Hey, there we go.
We have Stefan.
Nice. Welcome, Stephen. Good morning. So yeah, today we're going to be going over, what are we going over? Some fresh hop stuff.
Fresh hop and brewhouse efficiency.
Brewhouse efficiency. How to get better efficiency even as you scale.
And especially as a home brewer, I don't feel that we talk about brewhouse efficiency enough.
Yeah, we've touched on it a number of times, but it's one of those good things to kind of come at from a bunch of different angles. So now that you've been brewing on both big and small scales, it's kind of good to talk about what the difference is going to be when you're on a small scale and on a big scale, and how you kind of dive into that efficiency.
Yeah.
But first, general Genus Brewing news.
Valley Cup just started 2 days ago. And there are already people that have finished their Valley Cups.
That's impressive.
I was not one. Usually I am one of them, but I had a wedding that I made mead for, which we'll taste a little bit later on
Super
Friday. And then yesterday I was brewing all day. A very long day. But that's, I would say that's the, and we made a Genus here. We made a fresh hop beer. Jess and Sky and Harry all made a very adventuresome road trip down to Yakima to pick up fresh hops.
Yeah, that was hectic. So to give you kind of a short of everything that happened this last week, I had a bunch of stuff on the coaching side of what I do that all came to a head basically on Friday. And Wednesday and Friday were very, very hectic days for me in my outside of Genus work life and my Genus work life. And earlier on in the week, I think Wednesday, we got the go-ahead or the note from Yakima that says, hey, we're going to have hops for you on Friday. And Friday I was also leaving for a cross-country trip by 2, and so kind of everybody at Genus had to pull together and find some way to make it work. Warren came in and helped finish out the brew on his birthday, so thank you, Warren, for doing that. That was awesome.
Also, happy birthday, Warren. I did not realize it was his birthday Friday.
Yeah, his birthday was Friday. And Jess and Sky and Harry went down to Yakima to grab hops, and they should have videos on that. So
And they got a flat tire.
And they got a flat tire, yes. And so they drove probably like 100 miles on their little donut.
Oh, geez, that's not good.
It's definitely not good. And they were thinking they're just gonna try to like come back on the donut. And I was like, no, you got to stop somewhere. Like, that's not good for your car.
Jess should know that out of all people. I expect her.
She does. I think she's just feeling the stress of knowing that I had to leave at 2.
Okay.
So, anyways, very adventurous day. And if you see this as the intro to a fresh hop, how I made a fresh hop beer in the future, we made a fresh hop beer. And I know that we normally don't make those because we don't like the green matter taste, but this time we did, and we're going to show you how to do it without making the green planty taste happen. Is that a good intro?
Yeah.
All right. If Jack, our editor, if you're watching, then use that for the intro, maybe. You've got options.
Got options. And welcome, Selvin. Oh my God, I made a live stream.
Oh my God, I made a live stream. Awesome. So today
While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to like the video.
Oh, you should like the video. Everybody that's watching should like the video. So today let's go over the fresh hop beer that we made. Let's go ahead and talk about that. We'll go over the You. Perfect.
Can you hear us?
Now you should be able to.
Please let me know if you can hear us.
Let's see. Is it on there? It's on there.
Yes. Okay. Robert can hear us. Sweet.
Perfect.
Back. Awesome.
We're learning new things.
We're learning new things. What you guys can't see is we have a computer over there and a tablet right there.
Yes. We are like fully in a new, for you guys' perspective, it might not look very different, but from our perspective, this is a whole new setup. Silky Fresh Hop beer. Welcome to our beer. So now we can just use this OBS browser and show you the recipe. All right,
so my first time seeing this recipe, so we'll go ahead and
yep.
Fun days.
Totally forgot that they didn't hear that part.
Yeah.
Now I gotta figure out how to scroll on this thing. Maybe I should have just used the other browser. I can interact. I do also have it pulled up here. So if anything, if nothing else, I can do this. How do you do? Is there like a down? All right, OBS browser. You're not as good as I thought you were gonna be. Stand by. Display capture. That's not right. Browser.
I have no clue.
Window capture. That's what I'm looking for. Create new. That thing. And we're just gonna use that. Boom. Look, it's already there. Let's go ahead and put our faces on top. And now I can use that. Okay. Now you guys should be able to see us and hear us. Look how quick I am at problem solving.
Awesome. So let us know if you can hear me.
Yes. And if you can see this, and now we're going to show you our the recipe. So we went with a, as you can tell, super, super light base on this guy.
Let's pause real quick. There's a little bit of a delay.
A little bit of a delay.
Do we still have
We should have audio.
audio?
They should be able to hear us.
Okay. Well, I just asked the question, so
Yeah.
they'll yell at us if we don't. Other than it froze?
Is that us being frozen? Or is that
Yep.
just the thing being frozen?
That's us. Okay, we still have audio. Oh, that might just be my tablet.
Yeah, I think it's a tablet just not having internet. Looks like everything's live on here, so
Okay.
the camera's still going.
Cool.
So this is our recipe. This
My
is
video's just being weird.
yeah, stupid tablet. This is what we did. We went with the super, super light end of everything, so we used Heidelberg as the base. I kind of like when I'm doing big, hop-forward, flavorful beers to make the base as light as possible. Just for fun. It's not. There's not really a good reason behind it. I could have used Halcyon too and made it a little bit darker and fuller and different, but I kind of like using that Pilsen grain base because it's there's some sort of aesthetic funness for me that comes from having a beer that's as light as it can possibly be, but also has all those juicy, hazy qualities.
Well, and also the nice, simple, like, you're not in a fresh hop beer. You need to be focused on the hop flavor.
Yeah. Get your brain off of whatever color can come from malts and stuff.
Yeah, and less it's almost almost the best fresh hop beers are almost smashes in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they just let the hop shine. Our hop that we got, by the way, was HBCU, some experimental hop.
Yeah. One moment, I'm gonna go turn off the fridge.
The fridge. That was the other thing that kicked on. I'll turn off the other thing. You can help explain the recipe. So yeah, aside from Heidelberg malt, which we used as our base, if you just turn it to off, then it'll go off eventually. Not immediately.
Yeah, I got it.
Cool. So oat malt we used instead of flaked oats. So flaked oats are going to give you a puffiness and a little bit more like starchy body to it. But when you use oat malt, you kind of skip that puffiness and well, you still get some of it, but you actually get more of the oily slickness that comes from oats. And so I like using oat malts in this kind of recipe because the oily slickness that you get from oat malt actually blend in with the hop oils that you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have a lot of hop oils in those.
That makes sense. And then you guys always throw some acidulated malt in to help deal with your water, to help out with a little bit of your water chem here, right?
Yep. And then that's a very small amount. And the only reason that I even thought about it was because this is such a light base. So that Heidelberg is very, very light, which means we're not going to get a lot of pH drop from the base malt there.
And then
dextrose for 2 reasons. So first of all, dextrose is just going to bump the ABV up and keep it light, so it's not going to add any sugar. But also, I'm also kind of planning ahead in the back of my mind, knowing that we're going to get a lot of loss from the hops absorbing water. So planning ahead for that. I did 10 pounds of dextrose just to boost up the alcohol so I can fake a little bit more efficiency than we actually had. And then Imperial, we did some dry hop, some citrus, and some barbarian, kind of a bunch of them blended together.
Okay.
But just try to get some nice fruitiness. And the biggest thing that I wanted was something that can ferment well at about 72 degrees.
Got it.
So I wanted to be able to ferment a little bit warm and then use pressure fermentation to retain all those aromatics. There's our sound relief.
Woot. Also, Daniels was excited that when he saw Brewer's Friend has a Whirlpool option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can actually use the Whirlpool option too. Let's do a quick edit on this. You can change based on how you Whirlpool too, and this takes a lot of trial and error, kind of knowing
Your system.
But you can change your utilization here. So let's say I'm going to get 100% utilization off of my Whirlpool, which is ridiculous. All of a sudden you have 644 IBUs.
Which is probably wrong.
It's definitely wrong. So there's some stuff that you got to figure out, but yeah, it does have a Whirlpool calculation, and it starts with a pretty good average. So you can estimate, in this case, 5% utilization. And my Whirlpool is not going to be at 212. It's going to be a little bit under that, but I would expect with that just pure volume of hops that we have in there, 20 pounds of hops in a 2-barrel batch, that we're going to get some bitterness. So.
And you do have to use more fresh or wet hops than you do pellets.
Yeah. So
that is something to keep in mind.
20 pounds is not...
and did you guys adjust your water, how much water you used at all?
So I didn't on the recipe build just because I use recipes, and I'm sorry for this, for those of you who try to follow recipes. I use recipes as a way to tell Jess what needs to be ring up and what we use for expenses so she can calculate our costs. So I, to be quite honest, don't do a very good job of adjusting things to actually use it for system stuff.
And Stefan, what happened is Yakima Valley Hop, which is our big hop provider here,
the biggest in the world,
called Peter up and said, "Hey, we have a bunch of fresh hops. Do you want them?"
So we made a lot happen. Actually, it was Sky that actually orchestrated doing a fresh hop beer this year. So Sky kind of signed a contract in like August saying, hey, when you guys have fresh hops, we want to do a fresh hop beer. Mm-hmm. And they said, okay, but we're just going to kind of call you on a random time and say, this is when we have hops, and you got to come get them.
And also no because Genus is not contracted with Yakima Valley Hop for any specific fresh hops.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a blind contract of whatever fresh hops they gave, and they did give it was an experimental.
Yeah, we got a giant experimental silky fresh hop beer that is it's gonna be live in probably, I don't know, 10 days or less.
Yeah.
So that should be fun.
I was gonna say, well, with all those yeasts and the temp you're fermenting at.
Exactly. Water chemistry, I went chloride heavy because I am going for a hazy feel, although this won't end up being like a hazy style beer. If you go a lot of commercial people that are doing wet hopped beers do hazies, and they don't realize that there's some shelf stability issues that come along with doing a hazy, like a true hazy style beer. And so I built this to be a juicier profile, but I didn't want the beer to be a hazy beer because I wanted it to be a beer that kind of, it's still good. And let's say we don't sell the entire batch, which we will, but let's say we don't sell it for like a month and a half. I want it to be as good at that month and a half as it is now.
Oh yeah, well, I was gonna say, given the fact that it's going to be your first IPA in a long time, that's your own IPA.
Yes, that'll be fun to have on, and we'll just smash a lot of juicy flavors in there. Calcium, so we have relatively hard water that we use in most of Spokane, but here we actually have relatively like neutral water, so everything's below 50 ppm. But I'm building it in as kind of a standard, I'm going to call it the Spokane profile, where you've got a little bit of hardness from the calcium and HCO3. Sulfates, I'm kind of just matching to the bicarbonate, so it's going to be relatively low. And chlorides, I wanted to be a little bit over double the sulfates. And then I want sodium to kind of build that smooth, silky thickness again. Everything that's going to make it rich and oily is kind of my thought.
Yeah.
But without being a hazy beer.
Yeah. What was the OG?
OG on it was 1.060. We estimated it was going to be 1.063. So
Not too bad.
yeah, pretty good.
A little bit below, but
Yeah, but I mean, for a giant amount of hop loss, like that's pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it. Good job, Warren. Finishing that out.
What did they smell like? I do not know because I was not here Friday.
I was also not here. By the time the hops came in, I felt so bad because my goal was to have everything set up.
Is there any left back there?
There might be. I don't know. I'll have to check. There's a garbage bag back there. There's some right there.
Are those it?
Yeah. Those are the fresh hops. These are the hops that we used. I put them really close, but they're going to be out of focus if they're really close. So these are the hops we used.
I get a little bit piney off of it.
Yeah, it's pine, it's citrus, it's a little bit bubblegummy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely get the bubblegum.
Like bubblegum and candied peach rings. It's definitely not like a mosaic, dank, kind of aggressive tropical fruit bomb. It's more on that kind of. It's got pine. It's got clean assertiveness, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think OG Centennial. But it's got a lot of delicate, awesome fruitiness. I like it.
Thoughts on OSU's study on hop
Terroir.
terroir? I have not heard that.
I have not. I haven't read the study. I know terroir has a lot to do with how hops are produced, though. There's actually when we were first building this place, this was probably back in 2019. We did a video where somebody sent us hops from a hop farm that I believe were Citra or Mosaic or something really super common, but just they were grown over in like Michigan or somewhere in the Midwest, and they tasted phenomenally different. Like they were like fruity and like almost overripe fruity, like really, really like plummy kind of fruit, which was I thought was pretty interesting. So terroir I know has a lot to do with it, but I haven't read OSU's study. So
yeah,
if you want to link it, I'll read it. That was Columbus in Michigan.
Thank you, Jimmy.
That makes sense. Yeah, you watched the video. Nice.
Well, or Chinook. Well, it's also Jimmy who
Yeah.
does random research for us
Yeah.
part of the time because we love you, Jimmy.
Yeah, Chinook sounds right. Chinook in Michigan. So, but instead of being piney, it was like just tremendously fruity. Anyway, super interesting. Terroir has a lot to do with hops.
Yep. Also, Jimmy, that fresh hop amber you definitely need to bring in.
Yes, right now.
Well, no,
Right now.
Yeah. Oregon State just released some research that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, and I trust the
Hop research done down there.
Well, just any of the agro research done at OSU.
Yeah. They were some of the first people to combine with like Barth Haas or whoever it was, like back when like Comet was being developed in the 80s or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they were involved in that too. So they've been around with this stuff for quite a bit. Live button.
Awesome. Sometimes I just have to pause the video because my tablet, my phone and tablet do not necessarily like the Wi-Fi here.
Well, tell your phone and tablet they're wrong.
I know.
Okay, is there any other questions on the recipe that we got built up over here? Is there anything you guys want us to dive into? If not, let me start to describe what our goal is with resetting the live stream to be a new kind of format. So our goal is to kind of go back and forth between being able to do a recipe build or a something like this where it's picture in picture, and then the following week actually have a live brew. So every other week trying to do a live brew with whatever recipe we built. In this case, it's not going to be this recipe. Unless you want to start building the recipe, we can build the next week's recipe. But
yeah, I was gonna say let's build the next week's recipe.
And then next week we can actually have a multicam going where we can be brewing the beer and doing the normal live stream at the same time. So it becomes a little bit more episodic that way. So we did decide on doing something dark. Did we decide on a CDA or did we decide on a dark lager?
Warren voted CDA, but we'll leave it to the audio's gone.
Audio's gone. How can the audio be gone? I see the audio on this side. If it's gone, it's not my fault.
Damon says audio's good.
Okay. Yeah, it's not.
Actually, YouTube chat. Do you want us to do a fresh hop dark lager or a fresh hop CDA recipe? Well, Peter gets
More beer?
Or do you want to grab something out of the fridge?
Oh yeah, see that. Let's start going through a fridge beer. Or do you want to grab fridge beer and I'll grab glasses? While the chat votes.
Yep. Okay, cool. Let us know.
Can you put polls in the chat? Is that a thing?
Probably, but not for my tablet.
No.
And it's already CDA.
Everyone's saying CDA.
You want beer or mead?
We can go mead first.
Okay.
Start with yours.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Since it's legitimately the freshest.
The freshest around. Nothing's gonna ever keep me smelling.
CDA stands for Cascadian Dark Ale.
It sure does.
Also, slightly different than a black IPA, but black IPA.
Black IPA.
I don't know if we'll be able to get fresh Mount Hood.
Probably not. That'd be awesome though.
But it looks like CDA is winning.
Damon says fresh hop Schwartz sounds really interesting. That's kind of the thought.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying CDA. So, and since that was Warren's vote as well, let's go ahead and just do a CDA. And then Damon, if you want to work together on a fun fresh hop Schwartz too, we can do that as a side project. Totally think that'd be fun.
So what we're drinking real quick is a raspberry mead that I made for a wedding that I had Friday. I made the mead the Monday before.
Yeah. So it's got some residual sweetness in it. But I think the residual sweetness is good.
Yeah.
And then the raspberry comes across really nice too. It's almost like candied raspberries, but it does have distinct like, hey, this came from a plant kind of flavor.
Yeah. So what I did for it is it was just under 5 pounds of honey, just over 5 gallons, and then I topped off to just over 5 gallons worth of water, or liquid total with the honey. And then 36 ounces of raspberries that I froze first and then pasteurized.
As one does.
So that way, yeah. What are our opinions
On those canned fresh hops? Though I have never, so it's, I could be wrong. It's not something I've looked a ton into, but I've never understood if there is a practical value to the gimmick, if that makes sense. So I understand the gimmick of putting things in cans. I understand the marketing side of that. But I've never, from a practical side, why would I buy that over, over a normal nitrogen purged bag? Not sure.
So catching up on chat real quick. Daniel, I'm going to be honest, because I was in such a panic and rush and I've been so busy, I forgot to take gravities. But I do think it does taste very sessionable. I'm not getting any alcohol notes at all.
Yeah, and knowing where the residual sweetness is, I would imagine there's a good 10 points that haven't dropped yet.
And it was, and I used Lucha. So it was already kind of petering out towards on Friday when I bottled it. Because Lucha.
The honey's really good. What's the base honey that you use in this?
Whatever I picked up at the Otis hardware store.
Nice. Yeah, it's really good.
It's, yeah.
It kind of tastes like a generic wildflower kind of honey, but with some soft fruitiness to it.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, but also I might be.
Damon says he's down for working on a Schwarzbier.
Well, also Jimmy commented.
Jimmy says, Damon, let's change my beer to fresh hops. Let's make it work. Oh, nice.
Since Jimmy won a homebrew contest, an IBU contest at No Drought.
That's awesome.
So.
We'll have to get some behind the scenes footage of that too and let you guys all see it. What is the strength of the mead? We didn't know. Reverend KY, good morning. Send us cider. All right, so right now we're in the process of making, we're going to make a 5-gallon batch of CDA that we're going to brew next week.
And it might be mystery hops.
And it might be mystery hops, hopefully.
Because I might be going to my neighbor who has hops.
So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what we do for hops, especially when they're hops we don't know. We usually don't try to boil those in any sense. The place that they always go is, what I like to do is turn a mash tun into a giant hop back. And then after I'm done boiling the wort, if I want some bitterness in the wort, then I'll use some pellet hops for that. But other than that, what I'll do is I'll slowly drain that wort over the fresh hops using the mash tun as kind of like a hop back, and it'll drain through very, very slowly, so kind of like you would with a sparge.
Yeah.
have time to infuse, and then all that flavor comes out without, because there's a little bit of immediate thermal loss just because there's going to be a lower temperature in the mash tun. So since it's not boiling, you're not getting some of those harsher, grassy kind of flavors.
Yeah.
How thick and juicy do we want this black IPA to be? Do we want it to be like a bright, tinny, show off the hops black IPA, or do we want it to be like a thick, juicy boy?
Since it's a mystery hop and it'd be kind of cool to see what the actual flavor's coming out of the hop, I'm going more towards tinny myself, but
bright and tinny.
Yeah.
If the chat wants to correct us, they can.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you guys want that, the big juicy, the thick boy.
The thick boy, the big juicy thick boy. Do you want to start with just base 2-row, or do you want to go something lighter like Heidelberg?
I like Heidelberg, but that's also because I mentally am in a German grain state of mind all the time now.
That makes sense. Yeah, we can start with Heidelberg. I like it. I'm down for it. So,
Damon says Maris Otter.
Maris Otter, but that's the thick juicy boy.
I guess we're going thick juicy.
I'm down for that. Let's do Pearl instead of Maris Otter, though. Pearl is like, we can do Maris Otter. We have trying to think what we have. We've got the Thomas Fawcett Maris Otter, so I can do that.
Okay.
All right, Maris Otter Pale.
Rivera,
good morning. You made it. We're building the recipe live right in front of you. How do I want to play this? I actually kind of want to. I still want a little bit of some sort of a German
Vienna. Nice.
Yeah, so you get a little bit of like that, that classic graininess, and it'll stand up a little bit of the hop flavor. I'm trying to also get some color built in without having to rely 100% on
dark grains, and that also will add some of those kind of caramel, like almost caramel toffee notes to help go against the roast, in my opinion.
The nice light toastiness. I like that.
And then Damon wants midnight wheat.
Midnight wheat.
That would help build the protein.
Okay. Let's go 0.185.
Because
midnight wheat
with some sort of wheat or oat in there, right?
Yeah, I mean a lot of the proteins that are in midnight wheat are going to be a little bit burnt off by the time that they get in there. So let's also I'm gonna check late addition on these last two, because those are going to be we can call them boil kettle. Those are we're gonna cold steep those.
Okay.
And then just add them to the top of the mash so they'll get sparged through, but they won't be sitting in the mash the entire time. Really try to soften them up as much as possible. And then I was thinking of some sort of a pseudo cara, like a not complete cara malt for that middle tone. What do you think? Do you want to go like Cara Munich, or do you want to go like Special X for the darker like plumminess? Or
I like Special X.
Special X.
I've always been a fan of any of the X's.
Any of the X's. Special X. I do like the fact that that's going to give me some really, really good coloration right there. So, and since we're going to cold steep, we can go a little bit darker on the midnight. We might even be able to go 6 ounces actually. 0.375.
We're building a CDA or a black IPA.
All right, so midnight wheat. Let's go ahead and that's 6 ounces of midnight wheat.
All my X's down in Texas.
All my X's down in Texas. 0.65. Let's do that. All right. I'm liking that. Yeast. So my normal brain goes to a neutral English style yeast like SO4 or Yeast used to have the Northwest Ale, which was a British derivative that I think got picked up by Red Hook. I think was the brewery that used that yeast.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But what do you guys think? Do you want to go? Do you think we want to go like bright and fruity, like the citrus dry hop barbarian style, or do you want to go more that classic clean, like I'm usually thinking, like pub or house or something like that, or OI006. Do I have that? If not, I might be able to get it.
What's that one?
Is that the British 2 or 5 or whatever?
Jimmy yelled Kvike because that's Jimmy. It's British 1.
British 1 is what it is. Let's see what we
Peter's at the beer fridge, and Peter, while you're at the hop yeast fridge, grab a random beer.
Okay.
We also we do have Cosmic Punch.
Am I grabbing a chunky beer or grabbing another beer?
Grab a different beer because remember we're going to do that video at some point in time with the Chumley beers.
Am I grabbing what's one am I grabbing? Green caps? Can you grab green cap beers?
Green cap with the masking tape on it.
Daniel Wetter, is he in?
Yeah, he's in the chat.
Daniel, drinking your beer.
Which one did you grab?
Grab both of them.
Okay. Ooh, actually one I really, really do want to try. It is not that one.
The wheat wine. Sounds good.
Yep. There's also a smoked hazy in there.
Oh, nice. I'll let you grab that one. Let's get the wheat wine done first.
Yep. So we have Daniel actually voted Dieter.
Dieter, I could see Dieter working really well. So that's got a, it takes the same kind of malty push that you've got from like doing something like house, but Dieter has that nice clean, almost metallic lageriness from being a proper Kolsch and everything. I do like the malt push from Dieter.
Oh, we gotta see if this is oxidized to hell.
Reverend KY, I love me a Chumley beer. All right, Imperial Dieter. Looks like we got a couple votes for Dieter. Let's do that.
Yep. It doesn't necessarily look
ETR.
oxidized off the first glance at it.
No, just a little red. It might have a touch of sherry oxidation kind of tone, but also being a wheat wine, it can be a little oxidized. It's part of the wonders of aged beer.
Yeah, and Daniel, it is partially our fault if it is oxidized because it took us so long to drink it.
It's true, but if it's a wheat wine, should be a bad thing. Smells really good. Actually, smells. It's got a lot of the same smells as the Dogfish Head wheat wine. Mm-hmm. Obviously, far less alcohol, but.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm not seeing the
donation function. Yeah, I need to figure out what's going on with that. At some point in time, YouTube.
Go to our PayPal link if you want to donate.
Yeah, there is a PayPal link below if you want to donate, and we appreciate you. Whether or not you do, we always appreciate you. But yeah, the super chat thing was
bugged out.
Yeah, something I have to set up in the back end because I switched the account over that it was on so that I didn't have to be W9ing myself. I could W9 the business.
Yeah.
So, and it's been hiccupy since then. So you guys thinking you want to add a little bit of bittering addition, which is going to be a pellet hop, or do you guys want to just go all the fresh hop and see what the fresh hop does? I can tell you right now that the fresh hop is going to be at least a pound.
Yeah.
And it's going to be we're going to call it a hop stand or something like that.
Mm.
I'm just going to put question marks there. We'll call it 5% alphas since we have no idea. Fresh.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy. A little bit of pellets, like something simple like Magnum, or something that we know is just going to give us that just touch of bitterness without too much flavor.
Okay. 0.5 of... I'm going to put Magnum in for now.
Reverend, because you came in late, the hop that we got from Yakima Valley for the main fresh hop beer was...
Experimental...
Was a weird experimental.
We might have some receipts or something like that back there somewhere.
I'm not going to go look.
I wonder if I have it in my email. Ooh, this is very fruity.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this.
So this got a touch of like almost Belgian fruitiness, not in a bad way, but like it's got.
Daniel, what yeast did you use on this wheat wine?
Yeah, it would make sense if it was like a specific high gravity yeast. That would make sense to have some of that fruitiness in there. Also, one thing that I was thinking about doing, as I was thinking of like new content that we're going to be rolling out, is if we did a weekly, just like beer share kind of tasting.
Yeah.
Like, I thought about that because I got the Ivan the Terribles over there.
Yeah.
But if we,
I have plenty of.
Yeah,
age stuff.
And I know we have a lot of people that like being able to share beer, and this would kind of give us purpose too, like a Monday or Tuesday night or something like that. Whoever's able to make it is able to come and do like a beer share and talk about the beers that they're tasting and all that.
I would prefer Monday because I do trivia on Tuesdays.
That is true. But I think, like, you know, I know Warren likes bringing beers to share, so other employees do too. So,
so a freestyle wheat wine recipe.
50% Heidelberg, 50% wheat, and then 10% flaked wheat, and then you mash it with a little bit of acid.
So 45, 45, 10.
Shh, math doesn't need to make sense. And then you boil it for 4 hours, and then you throw in at the very end, the very last 10 minutes, you throw in like 2 ounces of Mount Hood, and then you crash it, and then you ferment it.
I would actually use Omega's Cosmic Punch.
Yeah, I can see that.
And Daniel says it is fruited, strawberry, and the yeast is SO4.
Got you.
And then I'm trying to develop a hazy driven by the Thelose. I'm using Pilsner Viking, Ace Oats, and white wheat. Yeast will be a new thiol strand, Hilo Glazer, and some Phantasmum Power and Citra Igma. Any tips?
So hazy driven by thiols. Ooh.
Well,
yes, but I kind of want to make a whole live stream on thiolization and what all goes into the thiol production. On that side of biotransformation as well.
Also, a tip that I actually learned from Scotland down at Brick West is Yakima Valley Hops has a whole hop utilization document.
Yes.
Read that because that will actually help you learn better where hops are better used.
Yeah, and it gives you the precursors too, so you know what you're trying to really maximize too. Because there's when it comes to actual flavors, like thiols are a big chunk of flavors you can get out of hops. By the way, speaking of hops, the hop that we are getting is HBC 586 Loftus. HBC 586. So if you I'm gonna look that up real quick. I should have. We got Pornhub on there. Don't. HBC 586. Don't look. I'm always worried about that. It's a funny story about why that's up there, but I'll tell you after that.
That's a not on live stream.
It's a not on live stream conversation. 586 experimental from breeding company joint venture. Hybrid pollination, mother YCR 21 and male. A lot of numbers, dang. It's been described as a medley of fruit flavors such as mango, guava, lychee, citrus, slight sulfur, and herbal notes.
And I'm seeing the description, they say spicy, which that's, I think, where I got my pine kind of, because to me, pine and spice kind of go hand in hand, but that's just, my dad does bonsai trees, so I grew up around all different types of pine trees and other, so.
Yeah, on the flavor chart,
sweet fruit, citrus are big.
Yeah, a little bit of berry currant.
Green fruit. Okay.
HBC 586, you guys want to look it up, and that's the beer that we're going to be having an IPA made out of pretty soon.
Yep.
We still don't know what hops we're going to have next week, so I'll just put in da-da-da-da for that.
Yep.
All right, so that's what we're thinking for.
And then I do like the idea of Dieter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
If I don't buy you out of all the Dieter.
I've got more coming in.
Good.
I already got more that came in, actually. Yeah, so that's what we're thinking for next week. So planning for next week we'll do the live stream like normal, and then we'll actually be brewing the beer at the same time.
And I will disappear partway through.
Which is totally fine. And then you guys get to kind of watch that side too. I don't know yet if we're going to keep the entire brew day on YouTube, or if we're going to go live stream on YouTube and then the actual brew day. Once we're not doing the Q&A talking part of it, we might just switch that over to like Twitch or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's been the goal, is to be able to do a little bit more action stuff.
Yeah, we'll definitely let you know and have social media posts and stuff.
Yep. So let's talk about the second topic of the day, which was how to increase efficiency, or what all goes into efficiency when it comes to making beers, especially as they scale. And first, to break down kind of everything that goes into efficiency, there's more to it than people think. So as we've kind of been beaten into our heads, on the homebrew scale, we know that something to do with sparging and something to do with your mash tun and something to do with temperature kind of all go into efficiency.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yep. And yes, I know a lot of people say it doesn't matter, but it really does because you're going to get honestly better beers.
It helps with consistency if you know everything that could be going into why you do or don't get efficiency. So thinking about everything just kind of helps you be able to better manipulate the craft that you're making.
Yeah, and when you scale up, you want that consistency.
So of those three things, why the mash tun vessel itself matters is because, well, that has to do with two things. First of all is where your liquid drains to in the bottom of the mash tun, and does that have an outlet? So how much dead space do you have of wort sugary liquid below a spot where your spigot can get to? That's wasted sugars, and that decreases your efficiency.
Yeah, and also, like, with the mash tun, like your mash tun method of, are you doing brew in a bag? Are you doing a like traditional sparge method? Are you doing the mash and boil? Because that actually will also affect shape on the mash and boils because they're very tall and skinny.
Yes. So for a lot of beer where there's going to be dead space in the bottom of your mash tun, so there's going to be some loss, doing a batch sparge actually is better for your beer than doing a fly sparge, because the fly sparge is a constant rinse of water over your grains, and if there's dead space, if there's wort there that's not going to get rinsed off, then you just have the highest value sugar content wort that's stuck there that's never going to get into your beer.
Also, to go immediately along that, how quickly you're sparging.
Yes.
Because if you sparge real quick, you're going to lose because the water will want to go as quickly through as possible. Where if you slow down your sparge, you're going to be able to pull out more sugars and just also let the fresh water kind of do a really good rinse.
Yeah, it takes time for the sugars that are already in the wort to dissolve into the sparge water. And so if you go really fast, there's just kind of some stuff that gets missed. There's also, at some point, there's always levels of proteins in your mash. And those proteins at that mash temperature and pH tend to push away water. So if you imagine little proteins that are stuck in there and your water is kind of rinsing by them really fast, imagine it like a hose water draining down, and as soon as it hits those proteins, they're going to splatter and miss a lot of the stuff nearby. Whereas if you have a steady stream of water going very, very slowly, it's just going to hit those proteins and roll off. And if there's, imagine the rest of your sugary grains are below that protein shelf, that gives that water time to absorb and soak up the sugars that are right below those protein shelves. So water doesn't like to go through those proteins, but it will try to dissolve everything else that's around those, and if you don't give it enough time, it won't do it. So speed of your sparge could be a really, really big factor in how efficient you end up making your beer, especially as a fly sparger.
Yep. And with the temperature of the sparge water as well is another major factor.
Yeah, so both mash out temperature and temperature of sparge water affect the solubility of the sugars. And you've probably seen an analogous example of this anytime you've heated up honey. So if you've got honey that's really like thick and viscous and doesn't flow very well, and then you pop it into the microwave and just bring it up 10 degrees or so, then all of a sudden it flows really, really fluidly. Or same thing with like maple syrup or something like that. So if you've got hot sparge water, that hot sparge water is going to do a better job of dissolving, plus it's going to heat up the sugars and make the sugars more flowable. So.
Yep. And then just on the mash, the other major thing is your mash bed.
Yes. So the grain bed has a couple different things that impact the efficiency because of the grain bed, and the depth of the grain bed is one of those. And so the more vertical the grain bed, the more room for error there is. The more horizontal there is, the more horizontal it is, the more room for missing the sugars is, but the more vertical it is, the more room for protein shelves happening is. So there is kind of like a maximum grain bed dimension that people go with, and that's kind of why on the large scale you'll usually see mash tuns be very wide and not very tall.
Yeah, and thanks that a lot of people do calculate. I think, especially on the homebrew scale, the brewhouse efficiency is wrong.
Yes, if you've ever calculated your brewhouse efficiency to be 110%, then you're calculating your brewhouse efficiency wrong.
I know most softwares automatically just put it at 75% brewhouse efficiency.
Yeah.
And then like, and with the mash bed, especially on the tall vertical, that's why we recommend rice hulls in pretty much every recipe.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't add anything to your beer, but it helps break up those protein shells.
Break up the protein shelves. It fluffs the thing up, and it makes it so that your water can rinse off more sugars as it's going through.
Mm-hmm. So I know every time I've brewed on a mash and boil, I've always thrown in rice hulls. Sometimes during the mash in, instead of
Crap, I forgot rice hulls.
yeah,
Totally.
me running. Hey, that's a Greg. That's calculate for 70, and he gets higher. That's always a bonus.
Bonus alcohol. The nice thing about if you undershoot your mash, so if you calculate for 70 and you get higher, is you can also add volume with like distilled water.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always just end up with more beer if you end up overshooting your efficiency.
Oh yeah,
which is really nice.
Yeah, because I know if you're 0.01 under, that is anywhere between like 0.8 to 1% like alcohol difference below.
That's right. I totally just forgot what I was going to look up. I was going to look up something on my phone.
Brewhouse efficiency stuff?
No, I was going to look up our YouTube video because I wanted to see how many people have actually liked the video. Because right now on that, it only says 1.
Which is me.
And if only one person's liked it, I'm going to be
45.
sad. That's 45 people in there. 15 likes. If 30 more people like the video, then I will smack a fly.
I was expecting you to say smack me.
I do have an electric fly swatter, so.
No, I don't really want to be smacked with that.
That's fair. I would never smack you. That'd be mean. I'm not a mean person.
Well, it depends on what I did.
It's true.
But yeah, no, I was going to say...
Sometimes you've been a naughty boy. I don't know where we're going with that.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Well... Thank you, Daniel. But yeah, no, I was going to say, and again, I bring up a big thing about brewhouse efficiency because I want like that consistency of beer. Especially for your family and friends that grow to like a particular beer.
Absolutely.
And also, you may like a particular beer, or if you are making adjustments to your beer, that is one less thing you have to worry about when trying to fine tune to get your beer.
What does stress do to the beer? If a transfer quickly, it can cause more stress, right? So quick transfer, if you're talking about transfer from the mash tun, quick transfer can compact the grain bed. And so let's say you've got your mash tun here and your pump coming out here, and that pump is pulling liquid through faster than the liquid wants to naturally drain through the mash bed. What that's going to do is create suction. It's going to create like vacuumous space, and it's going to squish the grain bed together. And so all those protein shelves that might have been like a little protein shelf here, a little protein shelf here, a little protein shelf here, as the grain bed gets squished, that becomes a big flat shelf like that, which means that all the stuff underneath it is sugar that you're losing. And it also can give you a stuck sparge. So first of all, rice hulls, great, but also that's another reason to sparge slowly is because you don't want that compaction to make those protein shelves help you miss some sugars. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah.
Was the hand gestures? Give this video a thumbs up if the hand gestures helped explain that.
Oh, awesome, Pete. I was that. Oh my God, that makes way more sense. He's
Pickle Rick on your Discord, watching from the UK. Have an IPA which is taking forever to finish.
My question, Pete, is what yeast did you pitch?
Was it pub? Well, if it was pub, sometimes you got to kick pub in the booty and tell it to wake up and do its thing.
But yeah, no, I think that, and especially on false bottoms, like you can really get that suction.
Yeah.
And then also because it's sucked down, it will create channels,
yes,
which is not good. Manifolds, I think you run a little bit less into that.
Yeah, manifolds you run less into that because it's not an even. No, with false bottoms, you have the grain bed that's going to naturally go like that. Mm-hmm. Manifolds, the water needs to drain to focal points, which makes it harder to get that same compaction. But that said, manifolds also run a higher risk of losing some sugars just because of natural dead space around the manifold. Mm-hmm. So,
and this is of course not talking about brew in the bag because brew in the bag is its own beast.
It's its own thing.
And he said WLP 40. I have no clue what that is.
Yeah, that's a new one on me. I stopped carrying White Labs a while ago. WLP
White Labs was very expensive and also hard to get.
Midwestern Ale, Kegland.
Huh.
Midwestern. Yeah, I'm not used to that one.
I couldn't-
Medium flocculation. So usually when I see yeast that are going to be sleepy beavers, those are high flocculation yeasts, and so I wouldn't put it to that. Maybe try giving it a little rousey poo, a little temperature warm up. My last session had 7% after switching to Herms. I love that on the Brewfather I can adjust almost everything. That's awesome.
It might, and actually that might be what Spotted Cow uses.
The 4040?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Have
Have we significantly, sufficiently talked about the things that normal homebrewers think about? Temperature, their mash tun shape, and their sparge type,
and their mash bed.
and their mash bed?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some stuff that you don't normally think about when it comes to what can be impacting your efficiency. And the first and kind of easiest go-to, I think the next step that a lot of homebrewers take is your pH, the actual mash chemistry to include pH. So pH has a value at which when the mash pH drops below a certain temperature, a certain pH, a couple of things happen. One is solubility of certain proteins goes up. So certain proteins, if you didn't know this, they'll actually change polarity at different pHs. So there's a pH at which the solubility of certain proteins goes up, which is good for getting protein into your beer. It's also good for enzymes to be able to swim around and break down starches or other proteins into smaller bite-sized chunks. Now, any starch that's broken down into something soluble is extra points in your beer, which is awesome. The other thing that pH does is it affects the activity of your enzymes. So instead of just affecting the solubility of your enzymes, pH affects the activity of your enzymes because it can lower the activation energy for the enzymes to do what they want to do. And so let's say, taking a quick step back, for those of you who don't know what an enzyme does, an enzyme basically takes two molecules that weren't meant to be together and have a reaction, and it makes it really easy for those molecules to be together and have a reaction. So it's basically like a giant guy that just like says, hey, it's Tinder basically, but for enzymes, but for substrates. So enzymes, though, they work differently at different pHs, and so there's an optimal pH for enzymes to work. There's also an optimal temperature for enzymes to work, and those two things can impact how active your enzymes are during the mash, and so they can break down stuff either quicker or less quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think that covers pH. Does everyone have any questions on pH? Do we cover it? Are we good?
We could probably go into a whole other video on just how truly important pH really is to beer.
Yeah.
Which again is another thing that most homebrewers and even professional brewers I don't feel pay enough attention to.
Yeah, there's a lot of times, I mean, it's an easy thing to overlook because you think about mash temperature, it's the first thing you learn about. You're like, oh, alpha and beta amylase got to come together at the right temperature. I'd honestly say that pH and mash chemistry is more important than temperature. Part of that comes from how we brew, starting at a really low temperature and then just naturally ramping up. And that part of that also comes from, how beer was originally made way back in the day before we could tell that we were mashing it at 150. They just started it cold, got it up to a boil and said, oh, the sugars are probably there now. And that worked. They didn't understand that part of why it was working was because through the course of that, they were actually creating acids in the mash process.
Oh, that's actually a really good question to go along with brewhouse is how much temperature within mash steps change pH, assuming a step mash. Is it close enough that there's no real change?
So that kind of depends on why you're saying that temperature is going to affect pH. So as you know, as things get hot, they get spread out and more active. And so the readings on certain pH meters can be off based on temperature. And usually there's some sort of a ATC adjustment for that. However, if you were to go through a phytic acid rest, or even let's say you started at 90 degrees and went all the way up to 120 degrees in, let's say slowly over the course of a half hour, that would have not a huge, but that would have a notable pH change. And usually that's the difference between you mashing in at let's say if you say you have 100% Pilsen malt, mashing in at 5.5 and mashing in at 5.2. Going slowly through those temperature steps can produce enough acid that you mash in at a proper temperature just because of the phytic acid production.
Yeah.
Did that answer it?
I think so.
Let me know if I'm rambling incorrectly.
Mm-hmm. Also, filtering when hops go into the FV that can suck up liquid. Okay. Oh, fermentation vessel.
Yeah, FE.
Yep. Yeah. So. Yeah. That is.
Was that part of a question?
I think that was just talking about a little bit of
The wet hops, how you lose efficiency.
Yeah.
You got to squeeze the hop juice out, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that is a majority of.
All right, so we've talked about pH. We've talked about, enzymes kind of go along with pH, but there's also, you can add enzymes. Proteins, we talked about the protein shelves and protein structures that can inhibit mash pH. Something like doing a protein rest can reduce those protein shelves. Also, something like Viscobuster can get rid of those beta-glucans, so that can increase pH.
And a quick follow-up question on pH. This is more towards not brewhouse efficiency, but pH in the finished beer question. Do different yeast strands affect post-fermentation pH? Is there an optimum pH in the finished beer per style?
Absolutely. And pH is actually a really fun topic to get into when you go into how yeast work too, because certain acids, certain pHs, and certain precursor acids that could be available also can dramatically affect the aromatic compounds that are created during fermentation. So something with precursor acids, let's say a Feinsteffen strain, the wheat beer strain, right?
Yeah.
Big banana, a little bit of clove, like that guy. How he's going to produce those big banana flavors with certain precursor acids versus without is actually tremendously huge. So pH affects a lot more than just your mash chemistry. There's a lot of things that go on to when acids are present during fermentation and when they're not present during fermentation.
Yeah. And I think that is going to be a future video or live stream topic, is just talking like pH.
Yeah, all the different things in acids.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when they hear pH, they immediately think sours.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Damon commented, I use best malt acidulated to change pH. That's why we didn't put any acidulated in the Cascade.
That's fine. It's got dark. It's got dark malt in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll figure it out.
And then Kvaik seems to have a larger pH change in finished beers from what many people have said.
Yeah, some yeast actually do produce acid as part of their metabolism. All of them produce acid, but they do produce acid at a different level. And there are styles that taste better at certain pHs. So, but again, there's a lot that goes into that, and pH isn't just the flavor of the acids, because there's a huge difference between the actual pH of the beer and the flavor thresholds of the acid presence.
Yeah.
So a small amount of a very flavorful acid, like let's say vinegar, can make your beer taste way more sour than a large amount of a flavorless acid like ascorbic acid.
Yeah.
So, or even lactic acid. Like lactic acid, you can have a huge pH drop before you actually reach that flavor threshold and notice that it's there.
Or even citric acid, like a low bit of citric acid I know goes a long way.
Yeah, citric acid you can taste, like definitely.
I love that idea.
Deal. Genus on acid.
Any other brew house efficiency things that we want to touch before we start wrapping up?
I got all the main ones in. There's some things about loss in system that I don't know if we're gonna have a ton of. Well, we have a little bit of time to cover them. But let's jump into. Let's see if there's any Q&As, and then if there's not, then we can talk about some couple other things.
And Jordan, we will definitely am adding that to the list. Also, if you guys, as a plug, join the Discord, and those of you who are on the Discord, if you want to post the link into the chat, so that way I don't have to try to find it on mobile devices.
I don't even know how to find the Discord link, or else I could do it.
Peter's gonna do it real quick.
Maybe that button,
and then you go
invite.
Yep, and then copy link.
Okay. Oh, that's easy.
But yeah, we have a channel in there for live stream ideas. I actually did follow through with what I said I was going to do last week.
Nice.
I forgot I have to approve links. Anyone that posts links, so it's good that Peter did it.
Sweet.
Do you ever look into piquette making? No, we didn't. We have not looked into that yet.
Not yet.
Peter was very, very busy this week, and so was I. But we are adding that to the list of
things to look into.
Yep. But yeah, I will also add that to the list of possible live stream ideas and topics and stuff. I was gonna say, even though I already have next month's the first beer that we're gonna make next month.
Sounds good.
It's gonna be a surprise for all of you. Has something to do with 2 events that are happening next month, right next to each other.
I don't even know the answer to that.
Yep. Once I tell you, you're going to be like, oh, that makes sense.
Probably.
But yeah, any questions or answers?
Any questions we will answer.
Or the chat can answer. The chat's gotten really good at answering too.
It's true. Good job, chat. Way to go. The only other thing that I could think of that I kind of touched on is losses in system when it comes to actual brewhouse efficiency. Mm-hmm. So what that would be is reducing the dead space where the materials before a pump versus the materials after a pump could have just some of your wort stuck in tubes, basically. Stuck in tubes, stuck in areas that you don't get. The more wort that doesn't make it into your fermenter, the more that goes into calculating your final volume, which is one of the factors that goes into brewhouse efficiency. So.
Okay, quick. Oh, here comes all the questions. Preference on Biofine versus Cheeto and Kieselsaal.
So Kitasan and Kieselsaal. Kieselsaal and Biofine are nearly identical. They do the same thing. So my preference is the less expensive one, which is Kieselsaal. Biofine is relatively expensive for what it does, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And that's also, as a singular fining agent, that's also something that its effectiveness changes with pH. So if your pH of your beer is above a certain level, the proteins that are in there have one polarity that are causing haze, and if it's below a certain level, they have a different polarity that's causing haze. And so I like to do both the Kitasan and the Kieselsaal first, or Biofine first, and then the Kitasan, because they just cover different things.
Flitter Joe, for yeast options on your barley wine, what flavors are you looking for in your barley wine? Because that would affect my opinion on around 12% ABV, but like, are you going for a more fruity barley wine? Or are you going for something that you get that kind of grainy taste?
For that fruity English year kind of flavor, we did a giant barley wine on the Anvil Foundry when we first got the Anvil Foundry for its stress test, 20 pounds of grain stuffed in that thing. And we used a giant starter of Pub at first, but Pub also is a sleepy beaver, and it does not like to finish out a project that was that high of alcohol. I think it ended up being like 13% alcohol. And so we finished it off with, I think, Joystick. So finished it off with just a strong, gonna get the job done no matter what kind of yeast.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to go 100% clean, Independence, I think it's kind of my favorite like American yeast.
Independence is great. Honestly, you could probably throw Global at it in.
Yeah.
And like have that do some good work. And then Stefan, 100% acidulated malt mash
would be delicious.
I don't know about that.
It'd be a very sour beer. Although I don't think it'd be as sour as I think it'd be I don't know if it'd be too much sourer than like an actual just sour beer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd convert. That was the only thing.
Yeah.
Like getting the actual sugars out of it.
Yeah, that would be my worry. Is it would be a very low ABV beer.
Silafine is a good solo option product. So Silafine is in that same category as Kieselsaal and Biofine.
I use ESEP in my
silica based.
Yeah.
SB is that's the other quake.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I know, Jimmy, you love your quakes.
100% quake. All right, if we've got no more questions, I think we're gonna work on closing this out. If you haven't already, smash that thumbs up, subscribe button.
Go follow us on social medias, and also join the Discord. Yes.
Comment on our TikTok if you want us to do something crazy.
And Floater Joe, we are happy to be back. as well, and I am working my darndest to make sure that we stay back even with me taking vacation.
Yeah.
Because I need to take vacation too every once in a while.
I will do that eventually. Yeah, no, I think we're got a good content strategy coming up. We're not just back with live streams. We're going to be back with regular video uploads pretty soon too. I just got the one that we did
the tasting video
one ale.
that was supposed to announce the live streams coming back.
Exactly. Well, I got to do a couple of quick edits on it. It was done this week, but then I wanted to do a couple tweaks, and that's on me for not getting them done. But yeah, those are ready to go. So we'll have some uploads coming pretty soon, and then obviously we're now filming 100%, if not more, of the video of the brews we make. Mm-hmm. Nailed it.
And
so Fresh Hop's going to be filmed. We're going to throw a little blurb out about the blueberry French toast bagel.
Yep,
white stout.
This is my second Valley Cup beer I've had. So
yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
Currently is the second best.
It's the number one of all time.
Bye.
See you guys next time. Boop.